Oops, is that a red cross flag that you're not supposed to jump on? Kenny even looks back to go, huh, did I just do that? First off, how many nostalgia points does Kenny get for his #1 Suzuki? Reminds me a lot of the Makita Suzuki by Chad Reed in 2009. And not to mention Shane McElrath's bike that looks a lot like the Boost Mobile Yamaha from Jason Lawrence. Ken Roczen was just on another level at World Supercross. And the biggest thing that he did better than everybody was his intensity level was just that notch higher. In Super Pole, he ended up busting out an inside triple double that nobody was doing, and he was able to keep his momentum low to the ground and get accelerating before the triple, where other riders were having to go double, triple, which how it was designed, because that second obstacle had a much higher lip. Therefore, the riders had more height, so it just took them longer to get down to actually get the bike on the ground to propel themselves forward. We'll watch that again because he did it really smooth. Again, he was the only rider that was going for that. And that wasn't even the spectacular part. The really spectacular part was across the start. He was literally jumping into a rut standing up, where a lot of riders were kind of jump, then lean over, then they try to wheelie over the next little bump. He got in there so fast that he was able to jump out and make it into a double. Watch this. Boom. A lot of riders were wheeling over that last little bump because they didn't have enough momentum. But Kenny, freaking Kenny, just gets in there like a bat out of hell, and he's out. That was the most spectacular setup of the entire night, was this corner right here. The biggest crash of the night involved a few riders. You've got Aaron Tanti, you've got Chris Blows, and you've got Mike Alessi. We'll watch it in slow-mo, and then I will break it down. Okay. So Mike Alessi said that he got cross-rutted, and he is okay. So good news is no rider was seriously injured, but this is what caused the red flag restart, because Mike Alessi was unable to get up safely for a few laps. But what I noticed here on the start is you've got Mike Alessi and you've got Tanti. And as Mike Alessi lands, he's almost touching Tanti. Whether or not that this was somewhat of a cross jump is moot point. I think this is where things got off to the wrong foot, where he's leaned a little bit over. Tanti may be hitting the rear end of Mike Alessi, and that could have been enough for Alessi to be like, hey, what just hit me? So he looks back. And what happens when you're driving a car? It's just a simple analogy. The car goes where you look. When you're riding a motorcycle, wherever your head goes, the bike goes. And so Mike Alessi is looking over, so where does his motorcycle go? His motorcycle goes over, and I really think he was looking at Tanti. He wasn't trying to look at Blows to see if anybody was on the inside of him. It was really, he was trying to figure out who freaking bumped into him. And then he ends up cross-jumping and taking out Blows. Unfortunately, Blows has been on the receiving end of this a few times. The most notable one was Daytona, when McAdoo ended up landing on him. Speaking of intensity, before you overdo it, or you're already struggling with fatigue and sleep or any sort of athletic performance, let Coach Rob and his staff over at Complete Med Solutions take a comprehensive look at your blood. Certified doctors will then make adjustments to your nutrition and exercise program to turn around your symptoms as quickly as possible. This goes live July 15th, so just in a couple weeks from now, and the turnaround time is less than 14 days from the date of purchase to actually speaking to a certified doctor. You do not need a referral, so make sure you head over to CompleteMedSolutions.com. Jumping back to Ken Roczen, his ability to scrub into the whoops is what helped him win the race. Watch as he gets around hill for the first time. Did you see that? It might have been hard to see, but he made up a whole bike length. But watch. Watch his hips. He comes in, boom. he scrubs. He's soaking it up like a BMX bike going into the whoop section. And that front wheel is actually missing that second whoop. So notice you've got Hill. He's super fast in the whoops, don't get me wrong. But watch, he's going to hit this one with his front wheel and then hit the next one and the next one. Kenny is going to scrub, miss the second one, land on the third one. Boom. We'll see that in real time again. And ends up gaining a full bike length and getting around Hill. And then he does it again here a few laps later. Watch his hips. More pronounced than Hill. Hill is setting up for the whoops where Kenny, look, do you see how his knees move forward and he's squatting down? He's literally soaking it up where you're bringing the motorcycle to you. I've got tutorials on my channel for this exact movement as well if you're looking for that. But that's what enables him to get a few miles an hour faster through the whoop section. He's not leaning the bike completely over like on the lip of a jump. It's just fun to watch. That's why I keep going back and forth, because it's subtle, but it's a movement that everyone should practice. And this is the type of things that have these guys be the top 1% of the 1%. Jet Lawrence is a prime example of doing these small little things that other riders are not doing, and it makes a huge difference. This one's even more minor than what I just showed you. But the amount of confidence that these riders have racing with each other, it all depends on who you're racing with. But Hill and Kenny, they trust each other. Look at how close they are. And this wasn't the only time. As they were coming across the start, they are damn near touching wheels. And that is just having confidence in your ability. Granted, Kenny is just on a mission. His intensity level is far above Hill, but they trust each other. They know that they're not going to put each other in a precarious situation. And coming up to this next thing, watch the line that Kenny does as he seat bounce and he freaking quads over where Hill lands on top, triples on to triple off. And look at that suspension. He freaking cased the hell out of that thing, and that bike doesn't throw him over the bars. He goes from 2 stories to essentially front wheel and rear wheel, not even making it over. Boom. And there's hardly any rebound that happens to that bike. Yes, his ability to soak it up and being able to do this 10,000 times certainly helped him in navigating that motorcycle, but I will say that these bikes are unobtainium when it comes to the level of equipment, suspension, technology, testing that comes onto these bikes. This is no 2015 old-ass Suzuki. This is a well-built, oiled machine, top-notch. I'm digressing. So here's a little context before we get into the mishap of Kenny. You've got a medical flag waved or lights flashing. Medical staff is on course. Proceed with extreme caution. Riders must roll each jump individually with no overtaking until past the area of concern. Racing or accelerating is in an unsafe manner. This area is forbidden. So if you made it this far, I have to say, go down below in the description, hit subscribe, turn the notification bell icon. It enables me to create this level of content to you guys for free. So if we watch Kenny Roczen, you've got the red cross flag here at the bottom right-hand corner. If he didn't see it, he wouldn't look back. That is number one thing I noticed. And I also noticed that he was accelerating during this. Will I argue that the red cross flag was in an area where you can't see? And you could argue that, hey, he got past it fairly safely. He didn't gain a position, but you could also argue that he was accelerating. So by the rules that are vague, you could potentially dock him, but they ended up not docking him, and I see why. Vince Freeze ended up jumping it in front of him. So really the lesson here should be, hey, flaggers, if you're going to do this, you need to get in an area where riders can see, because this is that off camber where there's an outside and an inside, guys aren't going to be looking on their peripheral vision way to the left to see what is going on, when usually a flag would be at the top of the lip of the jump where every rider is going towards them, not right on the exit of a corner. So I'm going to call this as a bummer, but if you want to be technical and buy the rule book, he was racing in a red cross area, and by definition, it maybe is forbidden, so therefore should come with some consequences. But I can see the race director going, hey, we really shouldn't do this. However, I do have to point out that MX Sports and Motocross, how they were docking riders at Redbud for doing similar scenarios, I thought was good for the sport, because it's that level of integrity that everything is lifted to. So, till next time, this is Johnny Hopper. Keep it WFO. Ba-ra-da-da-da.